Welcome back. We turn our focus now to member statements in the National Assembly. Now, the devastating floods in the Eastern Cape are causing severe hardship within communities, and government will have to intervene to bring relief and to repair the infrastructure. That was the call from the DA's Eastern Cape leader, Mr. Ethel Trollip, during member statements in the National Assembly.
The Democratic Alliance notes with deep regret the devastation caused by the Eastern Cape torrential rain and flooding. The area worst affected is the coastal strip between the Tsitsikamma and the Keiskamma River. The tragic loss of at least 8 lives is especially tragic, and the DA extends its deepest condolences to the bereaved. The enormous cost of the loss of private and public property, coupled with the cost of the damage to public infrastructure such as roads, water, electricity and other service infrastructure, will have a devastating impact on the province's already faltering economy. The affected local and district municipalities just don't have the financial means to deal with the scale of damage and devastation caused by the flooding. In fact, it is clear that the province too will have to rely on the intervention and assistance of the National Treasury. The closure of the N2 will result in a doubling of traffic load and volume on the R72, which is not designed for this volume of traffic and which has not been adequately maintained. This situation will destroy one of the most critical roads in the province. Many of the unsurfaced roads in the province are also faced with maintenance backlogs of multiple years and are now impassable and place even more economic strain and hardship on the rural communities. We call on all 3 spheres of government to mobilize all necessary resources to effect immediate emergency repairs to the affected areas and the main service delivery and economic infrastructure affected by the devastation of the flooding this weekend. Thank you.
Well, I think we all share the concern about the impact of flooding, and clearly the issues in the Eastern Cape are matters that we must all be concerned about, and hopefully the report on the impact on infrastructure and life will soon be compiled and we can deal with this as a matter of urgency.
Minister Trevor Manuel also had a problem with how Mr. Smuts Ngonyama of COPE had grasped South Africa's debt situation. Now, in his statement, Mr. Ngonyama argued that debt had to be brought under control. If not, South Africa could be heading for the same crisis as experienced by countries like Spain, Greece, and many others.
At the end of 2008-9, the national debt was 526 billion. Today, it is about 1.3 trillion. The debt service costs will have risen from 77 billion in 2009 to well over 104 billion rand in the next few months. Let us see the red lights flashing. Let us not go so far down this route to find ourselves in the company of Spain and Greece and other countries that are in debt up to their eyeballs. Expenditure on the consumption side is unacceptably high. In fact, it is totally intolerable. The doubling of the public service salary bill over the past 5 years from 156 billion rand to 314 billion has set the cat among the pigeons in the wage and salary bill. Meanwhile, haircuts notwithstanding, billions have been wasted by ministers on John's entertainment and other frivolous items. 25 billion was wasted last year on futile and fruitless expenditure. The procurement process is rotten to the core. This House needs Treasury to issue a set of fiscal guidelines and enforce rigid PMFA compliance. We also need an electronic board outside this chamber to reflect day by day the public debt, the debt servicing cost, and the cost at which government is borrowing. Honourable Speaker, under the circumstances, expending scarce resources on Nkandla is scandalous and immoral. Expenditure on the consumption side must be reduced as soon as possible.
The Honourable Ngonyama sounds like a right-wing Republican on the ticker board on public debt. I'm not quite sure the point that he's trying to make, but it's quite misplaced in the context of South Africa.
And that's where we have to leave it. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. We will be back next Tuesday for more news and views from Parliament. And during that program, we will be looking at questions to the Deputy President, Kgalema Motlanthe, and ministers in the governance cluster. Enjoy your weekend, and until we meet again, goodbye.